And here's what we're going to learn how to do today. When you click, you're going to see a couple different things. The first is this PowerPoint, and that's what I'm going to be using over here. You'll see this Trendline document, and you'll see this line of best fit document. On your PowerPoint document, I need to go back and delete some of these. I have some of the goals on this one that we would like to answer. So one of the goals is I want to figure out today how much a tweet is worth. Will college be affordable? In the board game Monopoly, does the property's distance from Go correlate to the rented cost? 4, do teams that spend a lot win a lot? And 5, can you predict a total movie's gross from its opening weekend? So that's kind of our goal and things to figure out today. So if you look here, that's what's going to be on the PowerPoint. I'll kind of go through that. What I want you to do though is I want you to click on line of best fit document, and then I also want to click on this docx. First thing I want you to open up is the line of best fit document, and I want you to go all the way over. You're probably starting on this tab with extra money. I want you to go all the way over to tweeting, and you're probably going to have a graph like this. I want you to delete this graph, and then I'm going to start over here and start talking about this while you kind of look at that Twitter information. So once you've kind of deleted that, this is the chart that you see here. And the chart in this, my first overall question is, how much money do we make for every 1 million followers we have? So I want you to pause and ponder for a second and think about, for every 1 million followers I have, how much money should I make? And when I was thinking about this, I kind of go, okay, if I have 23 million people and I make that much money, what if I just took that amount of money and divided it by the number of followers? That would give me around $6,000. Well, if you look at this, let's take another one. Divided by 7.2. That's only 5,000. So it's not always 100% accurate, but it seems to be around 6,000 most times. So can we get a better estimate than that? Well, we can by creating a scatter plot. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight this data, click on these dots. What we're going to do then is after we do that, so you highlight the data, you go to Insert, and then you make sure that you click on those dots and you click on them a second time, and that will give you your chart. After I got my chart, I'm going to right click on my dots and I'm going to click Add a Trend Line. And as you can see, as you add the trend line, we're going to click Display and display our squared value, and we get some information. So let me make that just a little bit larger so it's a little bit easier to read. Whoops. Nope, one more time, third time's the charm. So now we have this equation. And when you look at this equation, a couple things you want to look for. This, R squared value. Your R squared tells you how closely the dots are related to the line. It's our correlation coefficient that we learned about on Friday. So when you look about this, you can see that most of the dots are hitting the line, and that's why our R squared value is really close to 1. That's why it's 0.9989. So it's really close to 1. So that kind of makes sense from what we did Friday. This 6,000, you might go, where did this 6,000 come from? Well, that's your slope of the line. And your slope of the line should be the amount of money for every extra you get. And that kind of makes sense. Like, remember how we said, like, for every extra 1 million followers, I should make around $6,000? Well, we should. We should make 6,122. Now, the last thing you might look at, and you might go, oh, man, what's this 2,161 stand for? And it's negative. We're subtracting it. Well, that's your y-intercept. That is how much money you would make if you had 0 followers down here. That's why it happens down here. 0 followers, I'd make negative $2,161. And you might go, well, Mr. Rose, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I have a Twitter account, and I don't get charged money for using my Twitter account. Well, this is the cost for the company. Like, the company has to have lights, they have to buy servers, They have to pay people. So there's a lot of costs that go into running Twitter. And so that's how much they lose if they have people tweeting and they don't have enough followers. They're not going to get any kind of profit. Okay. I'm going to go back to this PowerPoint. We're going to answer a couple of these questions. So most of the time, you're going to get these kind of 8 questions. And on today's sheet, it'll be the same thing. So we're going to try to answer these 8 questions. The first question is, what does the x variable stand for? And when you look back here, my x variable is this thing. And these was how many millions of Twitter followers I had. So millions of Twitter followers. Go back here. Now I want to know what the y variable is. Well, that y variable was the tweet value, or the amount of money I make. What's the slope of the graph? That slope was that around $6,000 that we made. And what does it mean? Well, it means for every 1 million followers, I get an extra $6,000. And then the y-intercept, that was our negative 2,000 that we had. And what that meant was for every, if I have 0 followers, I would make negative $2,000, or it would cost the company $2,000. So that's the idea behind that. Now after you kind of answer those questions, you can kind of get a little bit more difficult questions. Like, if I had 1 million followers, how much would I make? A lot of people want to say you'd make $6,000. But that's not true, because you cost the company some money for making a Twitter account, so they take that away. So if you really want to figure this out, you have to go y equals 6,000 times your 1 minus the $2,000 you cost the company, which that would give us $4,000. So how much would you make if you had 46.5 million followers? Well, it'd be the same kind of thing. Take your 6,000, times it by 46.5, and minus your 2,000 followers. So you'd make $277,000. Now the last question is kind of like this open-ended and like real-world, like think-through question. And it kind of asks, why would a company be willing to pay $277,000 for someone on Twitter? And the reason why is it's advertising. Like, they're going to make a ton of money through the advertising of this. Think about LeBron James. He is sponsored by Nike, and so Nike makes his kind of shoes. And so if Nike tries to use him to sell more shoes. And so if he has a Twitter account and he just tweets out, hey, Nike came out with these new pair of shoes, like you should buy them, Nike's definitely willing to pay $277,000, because even if 1% of the people who follow him followed his advice, that would be 465,000 people. So they're going to make a lot of money off these, like, even if they made like $10 per person. That's 4.65 million that Nike makes off of that if 1% of LeBron James's Twitter followers goes out and buys it. So they're definitely going to, like, that's a good deal for them. Okay. So that you kind of got an idea of how to do this, we're going to try to answer more questions. And that's why I have more tabs down here. Like, will college be affordable? Monopoly, opening weekend, and extra money. The choices that I've given you today is I haven't given you all those extra choices, but on your document, you have some choices. So you're only going to pick 2 out of the 3 of these. So you might pick Monopoly and the box office, or you might pick Monopoly and the extra money. So don't pick every single one, just pick 2. And after you've picked 2, you're going to just try to answer these questions down here. Now, like an example of how you'd go about answering this is, like, write the equation that gives the cost of landing on each space with a hotel and the number of spaces from go in y equals mx plus b form. Please explain what the x, y, and the slope represents. So I would just like mark off, like, this is my x variable, this is my y variable, this is my slope, and this is my y-intercept. And you'll find that information by just going over to your Monopoly tab, taking this and going, okay, spaces from go, cost of property, insert, dots, dots, right click, add a trend line, and now I have all the same information I did before. And so you can kind of use that information to answer these questions, and do that with the other pieces of information, talk about which one's stronger, and then start answering these other questions. Again, you only have to pick 2 of them. And you don't have to type in all this data for any of the charts. They're on the different Excel tabs. So there's Monopoly, there's Opening Weekend, there's Extra Money. So you just go through and try the different ones. Try the different problems today. If you get stuck, please send me an email, but do try your best through this. Also, like, you can go back and watch how I made these different things because you do have this video. So just go back, watch it, try to answer the questions, try to see which questions I answered before that kind of relate to the one you're trying to answer now.